Hello, everybody, and welcome to this presentation of the ECL Elite Division right here on Sports Gamer. I am Tugi, joined this time out by one Mr. B Major for what promises to be one hell of a broadcast here as we continue on with the quarterfinal round of the playoffs. First and foremost, it is great to have you here, sir. Very much excited for this broadcast. How you doing today?
Doing great, Tugi. Happy to be here. And how fun is it? We get some great games yesterday, 3 of the 4 going to overtime, all of them being decided by a single goal. And then we follow it with El Clasico, HAVU and Frölunda. There is nothing better than that. Usually a finals matchup, but we'll get it a little bit earlier this time with them being the 3 and the 6. And as more things change, more things stay the same. Both of these teams still championship contenders, just meeting up a little bit earlier than what we're used to seeing.
You mentioned it yesterday. There's a reason why we call it Marathon Monday. After all, 3 out of 4 games going to overtime, and that's any indication we could certainly see the same thing today. As mentioned, we have what was once upon a time a perennial championship matchup. HAVU Gaming and Frölunda, their first 2 games of their best of 7 being played today. And of course, to wrap up the broadcast, we'll have our final opening round matchup. It is IQ taking on Färjestad, the battle of the 4 and 5 seeds. That one's going to be very interesting. As well, a full look at the bracket and, of course, what the situation happens to be. On yesterday's broadcast, we saw number 1 seed H-Reds take the first 2 games against Goons in overtime. An incredible start to that series. And the 2 seeds, Sao Esports, down 2-0 to 7th seeded Granite. We looked at that matchup and said, if there were to be an upset, that might be the one. And so far, it's looking like it might happen.
Yeah, and Granite kind of one of those sneaky teams this season that maybe they're a better team than what that 7th seeding kind of projects. Obviously, so tough to make it into the playoffs in the ECL Elite Division, but you have to remember some of those additions that they made from Färjestad, especially on the D pair of Laminens and Furion, and then Antonio Mannon as well. This is a team that we kind of knew could be sneaky coming in. They have proved that through with that 2-0 series lead. We'll see if they can see that through, or if the 2 seed in Stawo can make that comeback happen.
Now, it is worth noting as well, Tuesday is normally our day for Pro Division coverage. Want to give out a shout out to what is currently going on in that playoff situation, as well as the quarterfinals are also underway in our Pro Division, featuring the top 2 seeds. They were both 1 seeds out of their groups, but Reality Check and Yippee Voskula both currently trailing to the underdogs in that particular matchup. We're still waiting for the other 2 series to get underway. So, of course, right here on Sports Gamer, we will continue our coverage of the Pro Division, but we have to keep our focus on the Elite Division here as well. It's a tough balancing act when we have so much going on throughout all of our divisions.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes to show you the action that we have. And like you said, Tuki, kind of surprising to see both number 1s for both groups kind of going down, especially a team in Yvasko trying to make it back to the ECL Elite Mountaintop. Obviously, the history that they have as a team, kind of surprising to see them down 2-0 to a No-Rex Gaming team that was almost not in the playoffs and kind of had to scratch and claw their way at the last week to get in. They've been impressive, had an upset last week, looking to make another one and even a bigger one with a big name team and a number 1 seed in Yippee Voskula, trying to defeat them if they can.
So with that, we will switch our focus back here to our opening matchup of this broadcast. Again, it is HAVU Gaming against Frölunda, and needless to say, the numbers kind of speak for themselves in terms of how close of a series we expect this to be.
Oh yeah, and you know you're always going to get pretty even base numbers with you get these 2 teams. The goals for only separated by 3, and the goals against only separated by 1. These 2 are always in the top 3 or 4, and really any statistic you can think of that would reign for positive things. And this season, no different. They know how to score goals. They know how to hold it back in on the other end. And even more importantly, these 2 teams know each other very, very well. They split the regular season series 1-1. So they've both won 1 time against each other this season. Now they're going to have to do it a few times here to try to move on to the semifinals.
Get you all a look at the lineups here for this particular matchup as well. Very excited for this, as it is the 6 that you would expect to see for both of these sides. For HAVU Gaming, it is Wiggelson, Dominointi, and Captain Flyer Kungan on that right wing side. Nasastelli and Villikun on defense. Hansolino between the pipes, and for Frölunda HC, Playmaker, Potzloff, and Eki, Teemu Loimu on defense, Kape between the pipes. And that brings us, as always, to our first comparison here. It is the center matchup that we have. I've had the privilege of calling this particular matchup on numerous occasions. It is Dominointy against Potzloff. And again, the numbers kind of speak for themselves here.
Yeah, two guys that know each other very well, like you said, Tugi, and can really make a difference for both of these two teams. We know how centers can kind of dictate the way the play goes, especially on the offensive end. But when you get two guys like this in Dominoity and Patlov, not only two centers that are really in the upper echelon of their position in the league, but know each other so well, it really brings for that interesting matchup because you kind of know each other's tendencies. You know what to expect out of one another. And you have to remember, these are two teams that have played each other in finals appearances multiple times. So these guys know what they're getting out of one another, and both of them will be absolutely huge in these series. We know what Potzloff brings with that forward trio that they have over at Frölunda, and Dominoity, obviously one of the staples of that forward line of HAVU for really years now. So it's going to be fun to watch those two go to action because you know they're going to make a huge difference down the middle for their teams.
You mentioned the wingers. Let's take a look at them now again. Wiegelson and Flyer Kungen for HAVU, Playmaker and Eki on the Frölunda side of things. In this particular matchup, it really does intrigue me, the forechecking pressure that all four of these men can provide. And of course, as well with Eki, this season at least, you always got to keep an eye out for that net front presence.
Yeah, Naki, he's one of the best, not just in the European scene, but in NA too, really just the best in NHL esports and being able to really establish that positioning in front, and that he is so good at being able to get those tip goals and earning that positioning to get himself there, because the thing is, teams know that he has that ability to do that, but they can't seem to get him out of that area. It's kind of Eki's office there in front, and it makes it so hard as a goalie when you try to make those saves, because there's not really a lot you can do about many of those deflections, so seeing him be able to do that compared to what HAVU was able to do defensively, really going to be fun to watch. But do not sleep on Yeagelson and Flyer Kungen. We know what these two guys can do and what they are capable of doing. They will have a lot to say in this series, especially with this being round one and HAVU with the pedigree they have. They're not going to be keen on getting bounced out round one.
The defensive matchup next, of course, again for HAVU, Nasustelia and Vilikun on the defensive side for Frölunda, Teemu and Loimu. And it's been something that we've seen this season. Maybe point totals amongst defenders, not typically what we would have expected for some of these guys, but I'd say the numbers kind of match up for what we would expect out of these four.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of these guys just not able to do well defensively and able to kind of counteract the opportunities that the other team's able to get, but they can contribute on the offensive end as well. Both of these teams so good at being able to have that controlled breakout, and good offense typically starts with good defense, and the breakout is a really good part of that. And really the outlier out of this group, probably Billy Kuhn, 11 goals to 12 assists. Usually you don't see a lot of defensemen that double-digit goal tally, but he's really been able to put himself in that conversation. He is first in the league out of all defensemen in goals for in the regular season, while Loimu on the other end, first in assists. So both of these guys able to kind of help their teams offensively, but able to do it in different ways. It should be fun to see how that matches up with one another, because like you said, maybe not that point totals you'd usually see from defensemen, but all four of these guys are able to provide that for their teams.
Last but not least, we have the goaltending matchup, and you mentioned it, of course, for Eki, but we also have Hanselino, fresh off of a nice little vacation down to Florida. He is back and ready to go head-to-head with arguably his greatest rival on the flip side, as it is Kape. Two of the best goaltenders that we have ever seen in a competitive sixes setting, but neither really posting the save percentages that you might expect. But goals against average, obviously more of a team stat, both under 2 goals against, which always gives their team an opportunity to win.
Yeah, and something that you mentioned was that save percentage number. You and Sin talk about it all the time. That 80% mark is ideally where you want to be at a goalie. And usually Kape, one of the guys you would probably pencil in to be up there first, realistically, in that kind of mid to low 80s percentage. But this season, not so much. He does have 6 shutouts to his record, though, and 21 wins as well. So even though the save percentage not necessarily there for him, he is a playoff performer, and he has been known to make absolutely gigantic saves that has been able to win this Frölunda team championships in the past. And on the other end, Hans Celinho splitting time with Sibelius throughout the season. He gets the nod in this one. He actually played both games against Frölunda in the regular season as well. So this is not anything unfamiliar to him. Obviously, he knows Frölunda very well. These two goalies have played one another numerous times. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because both Hans Celinho and Kape have that ability to steal their team a respective game. Do not be shocked if they do that at least once here in this series for the respective squad.
Again, we've called it out. This is typically a perennial championship matchup. No such luck this season for these two. This is, again, an opening round matchup where one of these two teams, needless to say, will fall very, very short of expectations and their hopes for the season here today, needless to say. So again, we are just a few moments away from puck drop to kick off this particular series. Again, a little bit later on, Färjestad and IQ, our final quarterfinal matchup, will begin as well. 4 games today. Very excited to see how this goes. And, the funny thing is, you can sit there and look at every single person in this lineup and just talk about the history that they have within the ECL. I mean, again, Kape, it's one of those things where, all-time stats, we take a look at those on the website side of things. We know it factors in other things beyond just the ECL. There are not too many goaltenders that have more wins than the likes of Kape at this stage. I mean, we've talked about him to death in all aspects. He still leads the ECL in terms of shutouts, regardless of what tournament or what division it is. I mean, it's the most highly touted matchup that we have here, and for good reason.
Yeah, and that's why I think that El Clasico name kind of goes well with this. When you think of some of those teams, whether if you're a soccer or football fan, depending on what part of the continent you are on, you think Real Madrid, FC Barcelona, you think Boston and Montreal, you think Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, you think two classic teams that have really been a part of the history of the ECL and of really the NHL esports scene. And these two teams, whether it be different team names, they've been etched a part of that. They have helped build this to what it is, and it's not often you see them meet in round one. I mean, Frölunda being a 3 seed and HAVU being a 6 seed, they're used to being number 1 and number 2, but with how deep the ECL has been this season, you've seen teams like Sawo kind of be a little bit higher up than what they did. The ascendance of H-Reds, them being number 1, and then other teams like Färjestad and IQ having a little bit of better seasons than what we expected them to in terms of the rankings and the projections. So these two teams used to being a little bit higher, but hey, we get a treat here in round 1. We kind of wondered if we'd get El Clasico. Well, we got it just a little bit earlier than what we expected. But hey, I think we are all for it, and it's going to make a really fun series to watch and a really entertaining series to call.
I mean, and again, too, you mentioned that battle of 4 and 5. Neither of those teams were projected by that preseason captain's poll to make the playoffs. Yet it's the battle of 4 versus 5. So a lot to prove in that particular matchup as well. Again, just a few moments away from puck drop. Game number 1 of this 7-game series, of course, that we will see continued a little bit later on in the week. Of course, we have a broadcast coming up tomorrow where we will continue to follow the action. And of course, this Thursday as well will be continued coverage of any series that requires it. There is, of course, the possibility of no games on Thursday if there were to be sweeps in every single series, which, we've thought in the past that might be the case, but so often we've seen, especially in that 8-seed matchup, we've seen Frölunda be the 1 seed before. I recall them taking on Northern Ascendancy and losing 2 games in that series. You never quite know what's going to happen in any particular matchup. But one more time here, we'll throw it to a look at the bracket. We do have a slight delay in terms of getting the action going, but looking at these particular matchups and how this might pan out, we look at the action from yesterday, and again, I mentioned it, Goons taking H-Reds to overtime twice, so nearly walking away with the victory there. That series feels like it's far from over. And for Sawo, I mentioned a little bit earlier, and you brought up kind of the comparison that's out there a little bit from a Yipivaskala from a few seasons ago, where they were the number 1 seed and are the only team not aimed H-Reds or Frölunda to win a number 1 seed out of the regular season. In the time that I've been here, Yet here they are trailing 2-0 to Granite. You'd expect that series to be far from over. But at the same time, when you have a team that really starts to make it known that, hey, maybe, just maybe, we could be a championship contender, once you get to the playoffs, that pressure is just at an entirely different level.
Yeah, and you have to remember too, with this Granite team, like we kind of mentioned earlier, they might be a little bit more talented than what that 7 seeding brings. You have to remember a lot of the guys on that Granite team were on a 4 seed Fediastat just last season. They made the semifinals. They have that playoff experience. We knew Granite was going to be a force to be reckoned with this season, but we just didn't know how that series would go with Stawo, the way they have played, especially on the defensive end, only allowing about a goal a game in the 30 games that they have played. And Granite's been up to that challenge so far. Obviously, a lot more to be done. They've won both games by a goal, and it took overtime in another. So Sawo definitely going to have something to say, but when you put yourself in that 2-0 series lead, that really gets you in a good position going into the next games. And granted, they win one more, you gotta like their chances with the way they've played. But like we said, Sawo, a good team. They're number 2 for a reason. Cannot go in without saying that they have a little bit more to offer than what we saw yesterday, even with it being a close series.
Again, now just a few moments away from puck drop. Game number 1 of this series, just awaiting the teams to match up here and really get things going. But in terms of this particular matchup, all the hype, all the talk, we can build it up, but I have a feeling we're still not going to be able to accurately predict what's about to happen, because that just seems to be the case every time these two teams go head to head. You never really know what you're going to get out of this particular matchup. So very much excited to see how this one plays out. And it's funny because we've seen it already in this postseason. You think, okay, the team dominating possession. All right, let's put it in their favor. But then another team will burn them on the counterattack. It is the most unpredictable matchup that we could possibly have here in the playoffs, and it's still absolutely astonishing again that this is a first round battle. I mean, we've talked about it now all through this broadcast, but this was the perennial matchup in the finals, and for so long it was, okay, it's these two teams in the finals. It's way too predictable until these two teams split up. And then you had someone like H-Reds last season claim that number one, that top spot by winning in the postseason. They swept Frölunda in the final. And now again, like I said, the expectations for these two teams is to make the final, and only one of them is going to make it out of the first round. It's insanity.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so intriguing because, like you said, these are two really proud teams. They have so much history and so much pedigree. They're used to lifting that trophy above their heads and being crowned champions. So, one of these teams, like you said, one of them not even going to make it past that first round. And I don't even think that's something we can say about any of these teams ever. Have they ever been eliminated in the first round at all? I don't know if we can say that really about either of these two. Well, now one of them have to be if they play each other in that first round. They did split that season series in the regular season 1-1. So, like you said, Tugi, unpredictable. Not sure what we're gonna get, but you get two teams like this, that makes it a lot more fun to say the least.
You see what the teams are playing for as well. Of course, again, it is the new 2-season format for ECL 22, our winter and spring season, all leading to the brand new grand final a little bit later on this year. Of course, again, if you make it out of the first round, you're guaranteed a little bit of prize money as well. So again, crazy to think that one of these two teams won't be walking away with any bit of prize money. They're very much used to walking away with at least a little bit of cash in their pockets at the end of this. So much to play for these two teams. It is a brand new chapter to the most prestigious rivalry that we have here amongst the ECL. Very much excited to get this going and to see how this plays out. The teams are on the ice. Frölunda in their home red, HAVU in the road whites. El Clasico, a new chapter, begins now. A quarterfinal matchup, game number 1, and we'll see how this plays out. Everything to play for these two teams. As it is HAVU trying to work their way through the neutral zone early and into an offside call. Now, B-Major, that is one of the things, of course, that we could end up seeing throughout this matchup, is just the battle of the blue line and how willing teams are to kind of break that defensive shell.
Yeah, it's something that we saw in the regular season between these two teams is that HAVU got the better of the possession battle in terms of being able to establish the offensive zone time. They had over 3 minutes and 12 seconds of time on attack in the overtime loss, and over 4 minutes in the second game, which they won. So they were able to establish the zone versus Frölunda pretty successfully there the first 2 times they met. You know, Frölunda going to lock things down pretty well, but HAVU have to feel pretty good about their chances of being able to get into the zone rather comfortably, considering they were having success just a week ago as these teams played, about a week and a half ago or so.
Absolutely, that was a heck of a way to kind of wind down the season for these two teams, as well as we'll see an offside, at least a delayed offside, from the dump and chase attempt. Let's see what we can do here. Of course, not surprised they have a bit of a feeling out process. Here goes Flyer Kungen down that off wing side, a drive to the net. Wiegelson just running out of space. Looking to get it back here, though. Again, we will see just how much space these two teams have to work with through the neutral zone. It could be a bit of a tepid pace to this one. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, now Frölunda doing a good job on these breakouts. Good bit of patience from the defense. Eki nowhere to go. Billikun being hounded for the puck, but again, he's able to handle it well. Flyer Kungen, not so much through that pressure. Great sauce pass from Eki. Now Playmaker down low in the corner. Still holding on to it. Hands it off to Eki, who kicks it back to the point. Teemu right back down to him. Good patience on display here. Playmaker back to the point. Kind of being held to the outside here, though, with nowhere to go. And it will be HAVU regaining possession. Dominoiti, though, in a bit of trouble. He turns it over. He sauce pass doesn't go. Gets the rebound. He scores! The opening goal of this series. Who else would it be? Eki able to make things happen. 1-0 for Frölunda.
Oh man, and the two visitors from Tampa in on that one. Eki scoring on Hanselinho to start this series out. And what a shot it was there, too. He just using that close quarters to his advantage. He said how he is so good when he's in front of the net, but this time not that typical tip camping in front of the net play you may see from him. He just ripped it right past the goalie in Hanselinho and unassisted nevertheless. So Frölunda gets the scoring start at 1-0. A great job from them on that play.
Very surprised to see how that puck went in as well. Hopefully we get a bit of a replay a little bit later on, as it looked like he was in good position to make the save. Ultimately did not happen, and again now 1-0 lead for Frölunda in this one. Let's see how HAVU managed to respond. In the past, we have seen HAVU, stick to a offensive strategy, whether it's working or not. It was just their style. It's going to work. If it doesn't, that's it. But heading into this season, we've seen their willingness to adapt. More dump and chase attempts, as we've seen already in this game. But here come Frölunda. Potzloff not able to work his way around. It will be HAVU back in possession one more time. Of course, this incredible first round matchup. Game 1 of this best of 7. The action brought to you by our friends at Wilhelm, Kovalan Lakritsi, and ST Hockey. Playoff run leading to March 4th and 5th. We are oh so close, as crazy as it seems, to the final. We have another offside call here with just 5 minutes remaining here in the opening period.
Something that I really like that you mentioned there too is how HAVU kind of doesn't back away from that aggressive style, but they are a team that when they decide to do it, they can throw a lot of different looks at you. Sometimes you'll see them kind of be aggressive, then pull back a little bit and go into that trap just to kind of throw you off and make you change the way you play and feel a little bit more uncomfortable on that breakout. We'll see if they do any of that here, but right now, aggressive on that forecheck.
That's their best strategy as well, though. Good hit there by Loimu to completely stifle the offensive effort. HAVU, not much offensive zone time to speak of so far. They finally find a bit of space. Here's Flyer Kungen on that right-hand side. Good bit of protection. Wiegelson nowhere to go. He still fights for it, as Flyer Kungen with him, who sends it around the back of the goal. Dominoiti. D to D work there. One-timer. Big stop by Kape. No major rebound, at least into a dangerous area. Frölunda do ice the puck, though, as we approach the final minute of the first period.
Yeah, and HAVU, like you said, kind of able to establish the zone for the first time really all period long, and now they get an offensive zone face-off. We'll see if they can maybe use the next 90 seconds to maybe get something going for themselves. They've been good on the dot so far.
Off the tie-up, now Sestelia gets a Flyer. Kungen's shot blocked by his own man in front. Billikun not able to hold that one. Final few moments of the first. We'll see if HAVU can get anything going. Frölunda in possession in their own zone. Loimu risky, nearly turns it over. Still fighting for it here. It is Potzloff who comes up with it, and he'll kill the clock. So Frölunda strike first. Eki getting them on the board, although we'll get a look here at some of the physical play from Loimu.
Yeah, and we know that he can throw the body around when he chooses to. Something Frölunda pretty good at, underratedly throwing the body around. But like you said, the story in this one, Eki being able to start the scoring out, as you can see the replay right there, wearing the gold helmet for a reason to get. He showed why they're on that play. But Frölunda, I think period one goes to them. They got a vast majority of the zone time, it felt like, in terms of opportunities. But the stats wouldn't really tell you that. One shot apiece, 2 seconds separating these two in time on attack, but yet it just kind of felt like Frölunda had the better chances almost than HAVU, even if the stats don't really read that. So kind of a feeling out period there in the first 20 minutes. I would expect that to really ramp up in the second period as these teams start to kind of settle in and get comfortable with one another and open a few things up offensively.
All right, here we go, everybody. We are just about ready to begin the second period. Again, the first game of two between HAVU and Frölunda to kick off this opening round matchup. Again, a little bit later on, Färjestad and IQ going head-to-head the first two games of their series as well. HAVU in on the attack, but they turn it over. Villikun couldn't find the pass. Good bit of work there by Nasu Stelja to take that one away. You know, despite the opening goal for Frölunda, it has been HAVU, I'd argue, ever since, really kind of trying to force the issue. Get that offensive zone time, but so far so good from Frölunda on the defensive side of things. Here is Dominointi now, sends it around for Wiegelson. Good bit of puck protection. Back to the point with Villikun, and again down low. Great movement from HAVU. That shot save, rebound denied. Kape able to stop Dominointi on the doorstep. What a stop that was. Here comes Playmaker, though. That sauce in front. Dangerous moment on the other side. Hanselinho able to keep that one out. Nervous moments for both goalies to start the second period.
Yeah, Tugi, we said that things would ramp up in the second period, and that is held true here through the first 5 minutes. Kape with his first really big-time save of the game, and Hanselinho makes one of his own on the other end. So things starting to kind of open up the more this game goes on. Going to be fun to see if HAVU can maybe tie this thing up, or if Frölunda can break this game open a little bit more and extend their lead.
Again, we have another stoppage of play here. We will not be surprised to see a high amount of offside calls. The way these two teams go, and again, it's one of those things, you know each other so well. Do you stick with what you know works, or do you try to change things up just because you know if there's one team that has you scouted better than anybody else, it's the opposition that you face here tonight. Dominointi trying to get things going here through the neutral zone, carries it in over the blue line, immediately runs into trouble. Covered for the moment by Flyer Kungen. Again, three people around him. Dominointi has it, and Kape is able to swallow up that loose puck. It'll be another attacking zone draw for HAVU, though.
Yeah, and they've been pretty good on the dot so far. They lost that one earlier there at the end of the first period, but something they've been able to take advantage of in the past is being able to win those offensive draws and get those set plays.
Off the draw, though. Clean win for Potzloff. But a loose puck kicks back to the neutral zone. HAVU right back in possession. Wiegelson over the line, wearing the golden helmet in this particular matchup, signifying the team a leading score, and they score there! Flyer Kungen in front has tied this one up at one apiece. In the blink of an eye, HAVU have their breakthrough.
And it's the captain that does it there for HAVU, one of the centered players that has seen everything of everything in this matchup, and he gets the scoring started for HAVU in this one, and using that wraparound play to his advantage. I was kind of going to their fault last week when they matched up against H-Reds. This time, Flyer Kungen says, hey, I can go around on a two and use that post. He does it there, and it ties it up one apiece in the second.
Huge goal there, halfway through the second, whole new game. Playmaker back, what a stop by Hanselinho. Wraparound bid denied as well. Crafty move there from Playmaker, trying to hit them with a wrap of their own. Flyer Kungen nowhere to go at the red line. Eki in the attacking zone. Pass intercepted by Wiegelson. HAVU trying to get things going down the other way. Pass off the mark. Difficult, though, for these defensemen, knowing that you can run into trouble just like that, and you have to try to make those back passes. They're tough to place accurately on occasion. We'll slow things down here. Viliku, again mentioned, one of the defensive leaders in goals, and again, nowhere for Nasistelia to go. It's got to be frustrating to get stifled like this when there aren't too many teams that can do this, except these two teams to one another, given the circumstances of this matchup. Dominoiti, again, has to drop that one back. And it's just a slow, almost suffocating style to just be worked back. Like, okay, we can't get over the blue line. We're struggling to get over the red line. We're struggling to get over our own blue line now. It has to be frustrating for an offense. As Loimu able to find playmaker for Frölunda, trying to get that lead back. Potzlap again down in the corner, now back to the point. That shot saved by Hanselinho. Potzlap again to Loimu in front. Again, he got Eki back there covering for him. Potzlap wanted that wraparound, broken up at the last moment. Wiegelson, head of steam down that left wing side. Flyer Kunken there to assist. Dominoiti pumped off the puck. And now it's Eki. Has playmaker up ahead of him. Good puck protection from the winger. Back to the point and just wide on the blocker side. Eki for playmaker one more time. Back to the point. Save, scores! It hit the inside of the pad and still found its way home. Loimu reestablishes the lead for Frölunda.
Loimu usually the disher on many of these plays. He had 29 assists in the regular season and only 3 goals. Well, there you have it. He scores a goal from the point right there. And unfortunately for Hanselinho, just not able to get in that pad positioning to where it kind of just hit off of the inside left pad right there. Unfortunate there for HAVU, but it goes to the benefit of Frölunda, and a big goal with just 15 seconds left in the period.
A huge moment there for Frölunda. Looked like it was going to be HAVU's period, but a goal apiece sends us to the third. A 2-1 lead intact for Frölunda. So we'll get another look at that Loimu goal.
Yeah, you can see it all started from down low, and they worked it up to that point there in Loimu. Traffic and all, about 3 HAVU defenders were in that middle, but the puck is only so small, and there was just that bit of space to fit that through, and Loimu put it accurately enough to where he could squeeze that in. But Tugi, I think you said it best. That has to be pretty crushing there for HAVU. You get a goal in that period. They play rather even and back and forth where teams haven't gotten a lot of opportunities for one another. And then with just 15 seconds left, Frölunda able to get a goal to take back the lead going into this third. We know how big that goals can be when they're scored in the last bit of the game and how much they can carry over in terms of momentum into the next period. So now HAVU, after maybe being in a situation where you can go in tied in the third period with a clean slate, now you go into the next 20 minutes chasing the game, trying to come back after a late tally.
Here we go. Third period just about ready to begin. Again, the first game of 2 to kick off this quarterfinal matchup. We'll have more coverage this Wednesday, of course, and if necessary, on Thursday as well. So we'll wrap up the quarterfinals this week. Of course, again, a little bit later on, IQ and Färjestad play the first 2 games of their series as well. But we focus on this. HAVU down by 1. Again, this matchup, we'll say it numerous times and already have throughout this broadcast, typically a championship caliber matchup that instead we get in round 1 as the Elite Division continues to evolve and as other contenders, and of course now our defending champions, specifically in H-Reds, continue to emerge. They have Flyer Kungen here, pressured, great work there. Defense forced to help out. That was Teemu stepping up into the attacking zone while the rest of his team dropped back. Just goes to show the willingness that Frölunda have in terms of letting these defensemen jump up into the plays. Certainly explains, some of the point totals and especially the goal totals that we have seen. But great work there by Wiegelson. Back for Flyer Kungen. Dominoiti throws one on him wide. Flyer Kungen off the back of the net. Ran out of space. Dominoiti tried to go back down low to him. Teemu was there. Good pass to Eki. He's got a little bit of space. Passed in front and handled well by Villikun. It's HAVU right back down the other way. Wiegelson for Nasistelia. Loose puck. Flyer Kungen denied by the blocker. We do have a delayed call. Power play incoming for HAVU, the first of the game.
Yeah, and HAVU, they were not the best power play team in the regular season. 9th ranked in the ECL division at 19.15%. Each of these 2 teams took 2 penalties against one another in their regular season matchup, and neither of them scored a single power play goal. We'll see if HAVU can break that trend. They're going to have to do that here to want to tie this game.
Here's Wiggleson's shot, knocked down by the traffic in front and sent all the way down. At the start, HAVU were looking for on this power play. Dominointi dumps it in. Interesting bounce, nearly poked in. Puck still alive and chopped up to Eki. They finally get it out. Interesting moment there where it looked like HAVU would be able to maintain possession. They're already halfway through this power play. Great individual effort from Teemu to send that one all the way down. And interesting moment there. It honestly looked like Costelia kicked it away from himself. Didn't even see Villikun down in the corner. It's Dominointi in the zone here around the back to Flyer Kunga to the point. That shot blocked. Second chance perhaps for Villikun. Pass in front from Flyer Kunga broken up. We are back to 5-on-5. This one to the point. A little bit of incidental contact as it's ruled. And HAVU will have to reset. Big opportunity falls to the wayside. It is Potzloff now, Loimu again, trying to find that pass. Teemu gains the zone, dumps in that far side corner. We might just see the willingness to turtle up a little bit more from Frölunda, forcing HAVU to try to find a way to break through. Easier said than done, and again, that opens up room for the counterattack. They almost struck there. It's Flyer Kungan trying to drop back. Playmaker was there, but now it's Villikun. Billy looking for the shot, wide, rebound is there, Dominointi recovers it, and kicks back to the point. D to D one-timer, that one blocked by Eki, great work, has Playmaker ahead, but just able to get a stick on it to take away that chance as you see a bit of the creativity from Eki. Willing to throw different looks out there under 7 minutes to play. Here in the third period, Dominointi, now Flyer Kungan again down low, it's another power play coming up for HAVU.
And this is going to be huge here for HAVU. They weren't able to convert on that first power play. Got some looks in the cycle, but not a lot of shots on net. We'll see if they can maybe do a little bit of a better job of giving themselves some opportunities here on the second power plays. Now, time kind of starting to become the enemy here for HAVU, so gotta take advantage of this odd man chance while Frölunda gives it to you.
See what they can do. Dominointi has gotten the better of the face-offs at times in this matchup, but Potzloff gets it, cannot clear it. Great keep by Villikun. To the point, now Sustelia has to go down low for Dominointi behind the back of the net. Wraparound bid doesn't go, and the puck is sent all the way down. So again, another decent look, but not able to find that goal with 5 minutes to play. And a little bit of trouble here on their breakout. Precious time winding down off the clock as Dominointi sends that one in. Teemu able to send it right back out. 35 seconds on the HAVU man advantage. Flyer Kungan in the zone, finds Dominointi to the point. Shot stopped by Kape. He made it look easy.
Oh, and he did, and that's what is so fun watching these two goalies, and Kape and Hansulio really go and face off against one another. They make those saves that are difficult for most goalies, look so routine and so easy, and when you're in a game like this that's close with little time, so important to have a goalie that has that ability to do that.
As Teemu clears, HAVU down 0-2. 0 for 2, we should say, on the power play. Huge opportunity lost. Time ticking down. They dump it into that far side corner where Teemu again is able to pick that one up. Dominointi fights for it along the half wall. Tries to go around the back. Teemu all over it. Great pass there by Playmaker to find Eki. Now it's Potzloff. Does he have the speed? Has help with Loimu. His drop pass. Nobody home except Flyer Kungan. We have 1.5 minutes to go in a regulation here in game number 1. Dominointi has nowhere to go. Flyer Kungan trying to get back to his feet. Great job by Nasustelia. Dominointi's shot. That one's knocked loose. Loimu fighting for it and clears the zone. He's in a foot race for it that he's going to win. Immediately pressured there by Villikun. Now it's Playmaker below the goal line. 45 seconds to play in game number 1. Sustelia for HAVU, looking for space. Found Wiggleston, immediately double-teamed. Potzloff able to get out of trouble. Gets that outlet pass to Eki. Loimu now over to Playmaker, who will send it down and around with 25 to go, and Frölunda look to turtle up. Sustelia for Dominointi, nowhere to go. Hansalino heading to the bench. Flyer Kungan can't get it in an onside situation. Wiggleston looking, finds Dominointi. Trouble at the line. Still fighting for it. Wiggleston, 9 seconds to go. Chance, pass broken up. Playmaker dumps it out, and they should have time with 1.4 to go on the clock. It's not impossible to score from this situation.
Oh man, I mean, we've seen it scored with this amount of time a few times. HAVU, though, gonna have to get a set play off and quick.
Sestelia in that hot seat. Pass across, nobody home. Frölunda take game 1, 2-1 to kick off this series.
And I'm surprised Sestelia didn't shoot it there with the time left, but nevertheless was not able to connect on that pass. It looked like he was going for Eagleson on that one, but like you said, just the pass not able to get there, and the defense of Frölunda carries them home in this game 1 win 2-1 as that late goal with 15 seconds left in the second period there from Loimu making the difference in this one. And man, oh man, if you're HAVU, you're looking back at that and you're looking back at the 2 missed power plays in this third period. They had some chances, but the defense of Frölunda, a few big saves from Kape, and unfortunately HAVU just not able to take advantage of some of those opportunities they have. And Frölunda gets game 1 in this series in what was about what we expected, Tugi. A really close game, a lot of defense, and just a matter of taking advantage of chances when you got them.
And again, that goal for Hanselinho still has to be incredibly frustrating to hit the inside of the pad. No automatic butterfly there, but we get a look at the stats. And again, for Frölunda taking advantage despite the lack of time on attack, as we'll get a look here one more time at the opening goal from Eki.
Yeah, and remember, Eki just kind of put that one on net after the odd little bounce there. As it looks like it went through the right underarm there of Hanselinho from the looks of it there on that first one.
Looks like he hit the inside of the blocker. Yeah, those 2 incredibly unfortunate goals against Hanselinho. Maybe tough to come back from. It is a 7-game series. It's only the first game, but I do wonder what exactly the mindset will be heading into the rest of this matchup. I mean, that's a tough thing to try to shrug off. If there's anybody that will have the mentality, you would think, to try and shrug that off, it would be someone as experienced as Hanselinho. But you could argue hard-pressed by those first 2 goals, to say the least. And unfortunately, it was enough for Frölunda to get the win. Again, everybody, game 2 coming up in just a few moments. We'll be back to set the stage. Let's get you a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Loistava vapauttava syöttö ja sen jälkeen ollaan karkumatkalla. Minkälaisia ratkaisuja tulee? Tämän kaverin nimittäin on ollut todella kylmä viileä näissä paikoissa. Kilven räpylän puolelle kummalle tulee liikkuvat taakse kiekkomaali! Ja Wilhelm jälleen kerran nakkikioskille. Smokey Bites ja Snacks ovat tuoneet hienosti lisää leveyttä Wilhelm joukkueeseen.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
All right, everybody, we are back again. Tuki here, joined by Mr. B Major as we continue on with our opening round coverage of the ECL Elite Division postseason. Again, you just witnessed game 1 with Frölunda taking the 1-0 series lead over HAVU. Game 2 coming up in just a few moments. And again, a little bit later on in this broadcast, 4th seed Färjestad take on the 5 seed in IQ to round out the at least first 2 games of all of our series here. Again, we will have continued coverage over the next 2 days as well. Same start time, I believe, for all of that. And if not, hey, we'll update you on all of our socials, but it should be 1945 CET. That's about 1:45 p.m. Eastern for those of you on the North American side of things. I see a few of you in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us here today. So, as mentioned, heading into this matchup here, you know, the mentality game's a big thing, and we've seen it pointed out in the chat as well. There was kind of a moment there at the end where maybe just not as sharp as you'd want somebody to be. You know, the race for the puck maybe could have given them a few more seconds to work with at the end for HAVU. Again, those 2 goals, really tough to blame Hanselinho on that. I mean, we got a second look at that first Eki goal, and it just looked like it went through him. You know, looked like it hit the blocker on the far side and just bounced in. And then that second goal, obviously, off the inside of the pad and in. I'm intrigued to see what we see from HAVU here. Maybe a little bit more of a willingness to throw the puck on net, because especially down the stretch, at least what I noticed, was those around the back and behind the net plays for HAVU started getting snuffed out a little bit more by Frölunda.
Yeah, and for London, that's what's so fun with these 2 teams matching up. They've met each other so many times. There's so many games between them. You kind of know what to expect more times than not. Not many things are going to throw one another off guard. We knew that HAVU kind of valued that possession game more times than not. They didn't have more than 9 shots in either the 2 games that they played in the regular season, despite having 3 minutes or more of time on attack in both games. So HAVU typically dominates that possession game, but they don't really get a lot of shots on net, and that kind of can sometimes minimize the amount of opportunities that you get themselves. This time for Frölunda, it went to their advantage. HAVU maybe switching up the strategy in this one. Maybe you see them throw a few shots on net, because really, that's where both of Frölunda's goals came from. It wasn't on a set play, more or less, but just throwing the shot on net, getting that bounce that happened to go their way, and the puck went in the net. So maybe HAVU kind of takes a page out of their book on that one and gives themselves a few more opportunities based off of the shot before kind of valuing that behind-the-net cycling-based play.
And you would have seen it there from the player builds as well. Of course, the meta fully intact. A lot of puck-moving defensemen, a couple of playmakers, elite edges across the board. These guys love their possession game, to say the least, and doing their best to fully utilize that. Again, for Frölunda, the 2-1 win in game number 1. Game 2 coming up here. Very intrigued to see what happens. We have yet to see a 1-1 split to the first 2 series that have begun here in the postseason. It will be HAVU looking to change that. And again, remember, the rebrand is in effect. Sports Gamer GG, an evolution, if you would say. Of course, not just covering the NHL side of things now. It is Sports Gamer GG. That is sportsgamer.gg for all the information that you need. Of course, not just here with our Elite Division, of course, but we mentioned it a little bit earlier on. Of course, the ongoing Pro Division playoffs and so much more. Sportsgamer.gg as the second game of this series is underway. HAVU in the black and green, Frölunda in the road whites, and a great opportunity for Dominointi in the first 30 seconds of the game. Wiegelson nearly with the interception there. Close calls for Frölunda, and again, perhaps a little bit unfortunate for HAVU as they do a good job to shut down that counterattack. See if they can get going here down the other way now. Flyer Kungen, the big spin. Billy Kuhn, nowhere to go. That puck, though, nearly found its way to a dangerous area. Costelia has it here again. Flyer Kungen tried to go back across. Great defense by Frölunda, but HAVU certainly looking motivated. Heading into this game. Pass across. Again, good defense there by Billy Kuhn to take it away. Playmaker's shot also knocked down by Billy Kuhn. Let's see what HAVU can get going down the other way. It's been very difficult at times for them to break down the Frölunda blue line trap. 5 of the best in the business in terms of shutting down that opportunity. But here is Dominointi now with a bit of space to cut into the middle. Can't pick the puck back up. Close call there. Another great chance that just didn't quite fully develop for HAVU.
But man, you can kind of tell HAVU playing with a lot of urgency coming into these first 7 minutes, and gotta give credit to Frölunda. Did a great job. They did in game 1, but you're seeing it early in this first period as well. Shutting down passing lanes for HAVU. They've really tried to go for those cross passes, and Frölunda not giving it to them at all so far, but HAVU looking very motivated here in the first few minutes. You can tell they want this game too.
Big hit on Dominointi, but Flyer Kungen able to hold it until he's back to his feet. A little bit of contact there. One-timer blocked down. I believe that banked off of Wiegelson in front. A little bit of friendly fire as Frölunda trying to get going down the other way. Here's Teemu joining the rush. Potzloff went for that toe drag. I think he had room to shoot, but again, HAVU able to take that away. Big outlet pass now to Dominointi. Eki right there to contest him. Flyer Kungen joins the fray. Eki able to maintain possession. His playmaker tried to hit him, but it is offside. Nearly halfway through this first period already. What a pace we've seen.
Yeah, a lot more of a fast pace than what we saw really in all of game 1. A lot of that game 1 felt like it was a lot of a feeling out period where opportunities were few and far between, and it was a matter of capitalizing. Now we're just seeing chances all over the board really, and HAVU really trying to make sure to get that first one on the board. You can tell with the aggressiveness they're playing with.
There's Wiegelson again trying to get around Eki, who's been more than willing, we've seen so far here tonight, to drop back and let his defenders join the play. HAVU now, though, slowing things down a little bit, knowing that they have to try and get Frölunda to move a little bit. Otherwise, you run into a brick wall like Playmaker at the blue line. The puck is sent back. Frölunda can get something going of their own here. Again, a few and far between have been their chances so far this period. That pass in front intercepted by Costelia. Big head of steam down the other way for the defenseman. Drops for Wiegelson. Has Flyer Kungen. Tried to go back to Dominointi. He was contested. Leads now to Frölunda, perhaps. Being able to generate a chance here. Playmaker trying to hold on to it. Dangerous pass pays off to Teemu, who tries to go low, but Billy Kuhn was there to intercept that one. Sestelia, again, nowhere to go. Here's Eki, a little bit of space. That shot sneaks over the top. Thought it nearly went 5-hole with the camera angle. And with Hanselinho's luck in game one, it wouldn't have been surprising for that to sneak 5-hole.
Oh man, if you heard something really quietly in the background, it was a sigh of relief from Hanselinho on that one. That was way too close for his liking.
Loimu, Teemu, saved by Hanselinho, and he'll be forced to make the cover. What feels like a rare offensive zone draw for Frölunda.
Yeah, we haven't seen many of those. Many of the offensive zone draws have been in favor of HAVU, but now Frölunda with a chance to win this faceoff and set up shop in the offensive zone. But keep in mind, Dominoiti, great on the faceoff dot this series.
Is Billy Kuhn now for Sestelia, and again around the back of the net, looking for the opening goal of this game. And it was Frölunda striking first. HAVU were able to tie it in the second period, but a late goal from Frölunda, from that man right there, Loimu, was able to hold up as the game winner by the end of it. We've hit the final minute of play here in the first period. On the back of the net, though, Playmaker, great job on the forecheck. Eki joining the fray, loose puck, Dominoiti. To kind of hand that one off. They try the quick out. 3 seconds to go. Flyer Kungan will win it. Gets to the forehand. In front, scores! With .3 to go in the first period. HAVU have the breakthrough and take a 1-0 lead into the second. What a goal for Wiegelson.
I was very interested to see on how Flyer Kungan adjusted on that play. It looked like he might have had an Omaha-esque play. We know the NA knows all about that, but the pass a little bit towards to the bottom part of the board where he had to go get it with the race there and adjust compared to that normal type of breakaway play. He kept with it, stayed patient, waited for his fellow winger in Wiegelson to come along there, passed it over across to him, and HAVU opens the scoring up this time, and it was that late period goal that eluded them in game one, goes to their advantage in game two.
A huge moment there. Again, the late entry opens up the pass in front. Rare mistake from Frölunda, and a 1-0 lead for HAVU as a result, as we got to look at the stats, and wasn't the most offensive first period in the world.
Yeah, and you kind of come to expect that really from the way that these two teams have played each other and the way that these two teams always play each other. You're not going to see these 3-4, 5-4 games to where there's a lot of opportunities here and there, and there was a lot of breakaways and high chance opportunities, because the way that these two teams, it is so defensively based in the neutral zone, it's hard to establish that offensive zone time and to start to establish to really get in to give yourself chances. That's why in Frölunda, for their win in game one, it was so important for them to capitalize, because when the chances came, they were able to take advantage of them. So HAVU were able to do it right there. They finally were able to get past the defense of Frölunda, and they capitalized there. So now, a 1-0 lead, their first of the series. We'll see if they can hold on to it.
Second period, a man down there at the line. It was Frölunda still mucking away for that puck, not able to come up with it. Again, the second game of this quarterfinal matchup, a 2-1 win for Frölunda in game one. And Färjestad and IQ coming up after this. Still a lot more to see here on this broadcast. We thank you for joining us as Billy Kuhn takes that one away and threw it off the pads. Kape able to paddle that one aside. Sestelia with a great keep there. Let's see now what Flyer Kunga can do. He goes down low. Wiegelson, the goal scorer, around the back. Back to Sestelia, and again down low for HAVU. Dominoiti, a bit of a pause before getting over to that forehand side. Billy Kuhn tried to go back down low. Playmaker was there to take it away, and here comes Eki. Has Playmaker with them. This time, though, at the line. A little bit of insult to injury there for the likes of Flyer Kungan off of that hit. As you see, a big hit there as well, resulting in that injury.
Yeah, that's something to look out for. Remember, that injury can kind of slow you down a little bit, and if I'm correct, that is the defenseman there in Teemu that took that injury, so we'll see if that has any effects here for Frölunda, but the way they have locked it down in the neutral zone, you would hope or assume that HAVU probably not going to be able to take too much advantage of that.
That pass off the mark gives Frölunda an opportunity to get things going down the other way. A good interception by Flyer Kunga only stops that rush temporarily, as it's Frölunda right back in control. And Sestelia able to take it away, but HAVU, I guess more than just proved their defensive acumen. They keep turning the puck over after getting the steal. Dangerous moment there as Eki knocks this one loose. It's still in the zone, saved by Hanselino. HAVU need to figure out the passing here. They're playing with fire with this many turnovers on their side of the ice. As that one off the skates will go all the way back, and Frölunda forced to reset. See what Potzloff can do here. Now that pass off the mark. So difficult when these teams know each other as well as they do. Again, a multiple time, numerous battles, but a multiple time championship final that we have seen. But again, we are fortunate enough to get it in the quarterfinals. We don't have to wait this year. Teemu over the line. Potzloff, loose puck. It goes to the half wall, recovered by Loimu. Tries to go to the other side point where it's Playmaker covering. Now Teemu for Eki, throws it across. Australia there. Playmaker, that one-timer, blocked down from the point. Great stick lift there. I don't see too many people risking a stick lift. Worked out perfectly on that attempt, but again, down the other way, they're contested. HAVU trying to hold it in the attacking zone. Dominoiti and Wiegelson both there. Loimu is able to hold on to it. It finds its way to Eki. A little bit of trouble. Playmaker will dump that one into the far side. Giving chase. A great puck chop to keep that in the hands of HAVU. Up the wall. Flyer. Kungen gets destroyed, but it was a little bit too early. We're going to have an interference call here against Teemu. HAVU going back to the power play.
Yeah, and I was thinking it right as he laid the body on that one there, too. It kind of looked like he was just a second early and stepped in there. HAVU went 0 for 2 on the power play in that game 1. Remember, a big difference in it being a 1-2 loss or potentially going in OT. We'll see if they can maybe adjust some things and right some of those differences here in game 2. And this time, they have a lead, so a big chance for them to maybe extend that here.
We have under 6 minutes to go here in the second period. Flyer Kungen gets the puck into the attacking zone. Dominoiti around the back for Wiegelson. Again, able to find Dominoiti. Trying to keep that puck low as they so often do. That shot, big save by Kape. Wiegelson the rebound, wanted the wrap. Shot by Dominoiti is denied. Close calls, but Kape able to stand tall so far on this penalty kill.
Yeah, and you kind of feel that this is almost a big PK here for Frölunda. They're down 1-0. It's been a defensive game. Opportunities have been few and far between. If HAVU can score on this one with the way this game goes, gotta assume maybe, just maybe, it could be enough to take it all the way home. But a lot of games still to play.
A block shot there leads to a zone clearance. 25 seconds remaining on the HAVU man advantage. Dominoiti able to gain the line, sends it around the back. The quick give and go doesn't work. Dominoiti got it back, but a great last second poke check takes that one away. Loimu has it here. We are back to 5-on-5. Another missed opportunity for the HAVU power play. As the mentioned, struggling in the regular season by the standards they have set in the past, and still struggling here in the postseason so far. We have under 3 minutes to go now. Here is Flyer Kungen. He gains the zone. Hands off for Wiegelson. Sends it all the way around and out of the reach of 2 HAVU players. They'll be forced to reset from their own zone. Frölunda keeping a much higher line this time out. It is leading to HAVU getting a little bit of extra space to work with here on these break-ins. As Flyer Kungen nowhere to go. Loimu has trouble getting that outlet pass, though. Potzloff finally gets it, and again, he has trouble as well. Here's Nasustelia trying to generate some speed. Good hip check to win it back. Just couldn't get the shot off. 3 seconds to go. Loimu will kill the clock. HAVU will carry a 1-0 lead into the third period.
Yeah, and HAVU kind of just doing what they needed to there in that second period, not allowing Frölunda to get a really lot of high-octane opportunities and kind of getting some zone time here themselves. We knew this was going to be one of those one-goal close battles as the golden helmet drops on the ice right there, but nevertheless, HAVU just kind of doing what they need to hold this lead. They're playing well defensively, and once again, their play style and being able to hold that time of possession goes to their advantage when they have the lead. Frölunda not really able to establish that zone time, and when they do get themselves opportunities. So we'll see how that kind of balances itself out, because now Frölunda is going to be the one chasing the game here going into the third period of game 2, while they were on the opposite end of this in game 1. So we'll see how this shakes out. Should be a lot of fun, but HAVU, if they can hold on to this, they would love to tie this series 1-1 and go in with really turning this into a best-of-5 here in games 3.
And indeed, we will see this series continued tomorrow on broadcast, so look forward to that. No word yet on what the other matchup will be. It might just depend on the situation between IQ and Färjestad, which again we'll see beginning. The first 2 games of that series will begin upon the conclusion of this one. It is Frölunda in the attacking zone here early on. That one goes all the way back. Again, Elite Division action brought to you by our friends at Kovalan Lakritsi, Wilhelm and SD Hockey. A little bit of trouble there as Kape is forced to cover the puck.
Yeah, and Kape having to be near perfect from this point forward. You would assume, like we said, a low-scoring game, not a lot of chances. If HAVU gets this next goal, gotta like their chances. So Kape gonna have to make some big saves and answer the bell here throughout this third period.
Flyerkungen causing havoc in the Frölunda zone. They are able to get this puck out. Loimu over the line. A little bit of trouble. Wiegelson, though, has it for HAVU. Big step up doesn't work. Here goes Wiegelson one more time down that left-hand side. Tries to go back to the point. Dominoiti gets it there. Trouble perhaps for Nasustelia. He finds Wiegelson. Shot on. Stopped by Kape. Might have been poked off of his stick. It looked like he maybe wanted to make one extra move and just ran out of time.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big play there for Frölunda because of, like we said, if HAVU gets that, gotta like their chances. So whether it was a save by Kape or a defensive play by one of Frölunda's defensemen, that is a big-time play there made by Frölunda. So if they come back and tie this game, bookmark that one. That may have been the one to make the difference.
Trouble here for Villikun. Great job to avoid that double-team pressure. Dominoiti ends up for Flyerkungen. Great catch by the center fielder in Loimu, but it is still HAVU in on the attack. Around the back of the goal, loose puck in front, recovered. It's Frölunda going down the other way. Playmaker, a bit of space. Pass back across, broken up by the defensive HAVU. Breakout pass, I should say, for Wiegelson. Thought it was going to be on the mark. Just skipped past him. Dump and chase attempt here. The chop down low, out of the reach of Playmaker. And another power play coming up. This time, though, it will be for Frölunda. Their first of the game. It's the captain going to the box for HAVU. Just got too much contact on this second player. A bit incidental, but he has to take a seat for it regardless.
And this is huge because Frölunda, number 2 in the league in the regular season on the power play at 27.79%. HAVU, 79.31%. They were around 9th, so this is going to be a huge chance here for Frölunda to tie this game up.
Great set play off the draw, just out of the reach, though. On that far side, again, Frölunda's first power play of this game. Miscommunication with Teemu. That puck goes all the way back down. And Frölunda will be forced to reset again. Still looking for their first goal of this game. Here's Potzlav. Down low in the corner. Now Eki around the back of the net. Very dangerous spot for him to be. He tries to go back to the point. Maybe not, but it ends up on Teemu's stick regardless. Potzlav back for Loimu. Teemu shot, save, and that rebound skips behind the back of the goal. Now Sustelia completely fans on the clear, likely poked and nearly held in by Teemu. I gotta be honest, I thought he kept that in.
Yeah, that was a really close call, but the Stripes disagree on that one. So now 11 seconds for Frölunda. This could be a huge face-off here if they can get in the zone and maybe establish something. If not, HAVU probably going to dump this one down and get back to 5-on-5.
And here we go. The power play continues for a few moments. We are back to 5-on-5 halfway through this third period. Eki shot, rebound was there off the deflection pid from Playmaker. Another dangerous turnover for HAVU in their own zone. Right back on the attack, though. Flyerkungen down low for Dominoiti. He does have space. Holds it on the forehand. Back to the point. D to D. Now Sustelia. That shot from Flyerkungen. Wiegelson still has it. Knocked loose. Last moment by Loimu. The problem in this matchup. You think you have a little bit of space. Disappears very quickly. Playmaker looking to step in. Throws it in front. Banks around to the far side. A shot there. Perhaps buffered. Still found its way into a dangerous area. Eki for Loimu. That shot blocked by his own man in front. Eki shot stopped by Hans Salinho. What a quick feed from Playmaker below the goal line.
That's what Frölunda is so good at. They have so much cohesion as a unit of 5. They're so good at being able to get those quick passes off. So important against a team like HAVU where you can create some space for yourself and get a quick opportunity and use that to your advantage.
Face-off's much closer in this matchup. Dominoiti nowhere to go on that pass. Icing is the call. With a big face-off in the HAVU zone. Frölunda looking to take advantage. Looking to get that first goal of the game.
We haven't seen HAVU. Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool. I was going to say just 5:42 to play. It's insane that we're down to this low of time.
Yeah, and I was going to just kind of say this is where the defense in their own zone for HAVU becomes so big. We've seen them do most of their damage in the neutral zone. Frölunda not able to establish a lot of time. Now we'll have to see if they can kind of hold their own here while Frölunda gets some of that pressure in the offensive zone. This is a big 5-15 for the defense and goaltending.
At one-timer, they score! Loimu able to get the pass over to Teemu, I believe, if not just outright Teemu from the point. Frölunda have their goal, and indeed it is Teemu. Thought Loimu got a piece of that as well, but right off the draw, finally they're able to capitalize, and we're tied at 1.
And it was right on time there, Tuki. We said, can Frölunda maybe get one in, and can HAVU hold on, with this being really the first time that we've seen them establish that consistent offensive pressure? Well, they kept at it, they kept going, they kept digging, and it was Teemu on that one to capitalize. Now 2 to 3 goals from defensemen for Frölunda, and we may be seeing some extra hockey, but we still got about 4 minutes and change to go to see if HAVU or Frölunda can win this in regulation.
Heartbreaker for HAVU, but again, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. You allow too many offensive zone draws. Frölunda will find the breakthrough. This time again, it was Teemu. As mentioned a moment ago, Loimu had a goal in game number 1, held up as the game winner. 2.5 minutes to play. Here in this third period, it is a brand new game, now tied at 1 apiece. Potzloff into that back skate to try and maintain possession, but it ends up back in the Frölunda zone. Let's see what Loimu can do, being pressured by Wiggleston. That pass off the mark. Teemu will get a chance now to lead this breakout, perhaps. Good outlet pass to Potzloff. Cuts inside, makes the move. Playmaker scores! With 52 seconds to go, Frölunda grab the lead. It's 2-1.
Oh, and what a difference that 5 minutes makes, Tugi. Technically, about 2 or 3 in real life minutes here. Frölunda from down 1-0, HAVU playing so well defensively, to all of a sudden they get the ripper on the offensive faceoff from Teemu to tie it up, and a beautiful move from Potzloff. May not have connected, but how about Playmaker going to the net, following the play, being in position, right place, right time, to scoop it up, take advantage, and put the puck in the net. A heartbreaker for HAVU if they cannot come back in the next 40 to 50 seconds.
The Playmaker special on that goal. Nothing Hanselinho can do in that situation. Out of nowhere, Frölunda struggling to score. They now have a 2-1 lead in the final minutes of regulation. All the pressure on HAVU. Let's see what they can do here. They still have time to work with, but this is a very frustrating situation for them, I am sure. So close yet so far. Maybe being able to get a win here and tie the series up heading into the action tomorrow. Playmaker has it. Gets it over to Eki. Able to gain the zone. Sends it around the back. Playmaker has to back off. Viliku now 30 seconds for HAVU. Puck into the offensive zone. That shot. Playmaker fighting for it. Double teamed. Eki's there as well. Kicks out to the center where Potzloff is able to get it to Playmaker. He'll send it down. No icing. Hanselinho going to head to the bench. It is HAVU, one of the more aggressive teams. Eki forces the turnover. Ball game. Frölunda will take game 2 and a 2-0 series lead into the action tomorrow.
We were waiting to see when Eki got his first goal of the series. We didn't think it would be on an open net, but yet here we are, Tugi, and wow, what a comeback from Frölunda. They were down by 1, 5 minutes to go, and you just never give up if you are Frölunda. We've seen just about everything with these two, and there's no different here in game 2 in round 1.
3-1, the final score. Frölunda a 2-0 series lead here in this opening round matchup of the ECL Elite Division playoffs. It wasn't pretty for the vast majority of this game. All that matters, though, is the scoreboard at the end.
Yeah, and I think Frölunda will go home plenty happy with the 2-0 series lead they have. And at the end of the day, that is the score that matters, that series. And man, oh man, if you were HAVU, you have to feel absolutely gutted after leading most of this game, getting that late goal in the first period, playing so well defensively, especially in the neutral zone throughout this game. And then in the last 5 minutes, Frölunda just turned it on, flipped the switch, and took over in this game 2. And man, if Frölunda wins this series, which they are on a pretty good track to, going up 2-0, this is the game I think that we remember and say this is where Frölunda won it and where HAVU kind of lost it. They had that lead. They only had 4 shots, and the defense just not able to hold off long enough to stave away that inevitable Frölunda run. And for them, it came in the last 5 minutes. They took advantage of their chances, and they get the win because of it.
As you see on the scoreboard there in the right-hand corner. Now at the bottom of the screen, a 2-0 lead in this best of 7 for Frölunda. If there's any team that can adapt and battle their way back into a series, it is HAVU, but that is now 3 out of 3 series that we have seen started here in the quarterfinals that have a 2-0 series lead. We have one more series that needs to get underway, and you will see that on the other side of our brief intermission. It will be the start of IQ and Färjestad. Very much looking forward to seeing how this series continues tomorrow. But final thoughts on what was, all things considered, a great performance from Frölunda to be able to get those 2-0, the 2-0 series lead here.
Yeah, Frölunda in game 1, they kind of just took advantage of their chances. They got that first goal and kind of just rode that out from that point on. Some unfortunate bounces, unfortunately, for HAVU, and really not a lot that Hanselino could do really about any of the goals that he let in between the 2 games. A lot of them just kind of odd bounces and really just kind of clear-cut opportunities. It was either one or the other, and then obviously that last goal from Eki being open net. But nevertheless, I think if you're HAVU, you kind of have to feel a little bit, like I said, gutted, I think is the word you kind of have to use there. You could have very well have won game 1. You had some unfortunate bounces go your way, and then you're leading the vast majority of game 2, and then with 5 minutes left, Frölunda just woke up and really were able to become a different team in terms of how long they were able to apply pressure. And unfortunately for HAVU, they're going to go down 2-0 in this series. They have their work cut out for them. But if anyone is built to come back from a deficit like this against a team they know so well, it would be HAVU. So cannot get cocky if you're Frölunda. They know how to take care of business. Should be fun to watch this series develop as Frölunda leads this one 2-0 after those 2 games.
Again, on the other side of our intermission, we will begin our 4th and final quarterfinal matchup, Färjestad and IQ. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.